Hi everyone, my philosopher that I'm researching is John Locke. John Locke was born in the almost mid-1600s, 1632 in England. And just sort of as a backdrop for his work, in his day, children were just starting to be recognized as something other than little adults. They had been sort of seen as little playthings or little miniature adults. But John Locke started seeing children as children in their own right and in need of education. Also, in his day, education for children was not standardized, nor was it mandatory. Most children were not educated at all, and the ones who were educated at different times in their lives, some young, some older, some, which is important, some kids went to boarding school and some kids were educated at home. So that kind of provides a necessary backdrop to understand some of his philosophy. So Locke himself was raised as a Puritan and he was well educated as a child. He attended Oxford University and studied medicine. While he was at Oxford, he met a man named Lord Ashley, and Lord Ashley actually had a lot of influence over Locke. Ashley was a member of the Whig political party, and part of the reason that Locke wrote his essay called Two Treatises of Government was because of Lord Ashley's influence. And in Two Treatises of Government, Locke espoused the natural rights of man as a social contract. And this essay was influential and revolutionary in his own time, but also in the French and American revolutions later on. Because of his revolutionary ideas, he was not in favor with the king and the royalty in England. He was implicated in a plot to kill the king in 1683 and was actually exiled to Holland for 5 years. Once the Whig Party took control of England, Locke was able to return. And while he was in exile, he wrote another famous essay called An Essay Concerning Human Understanding. And in that essay, he studied the nature of human knowledge. Another one of his big essays that he's known for is called Some Thoughts Concerning Education, and this was a series of letters he wrote to his friend from 1693 until his death in 1704. He thought that children were blank slates, and 90% of who they are is formed by their education. He also thought that children should be individually taught according to their individual personalities. Even though they were born with blank slates, he also thought children came with their own personalities into the world. And because they needed individual teaching, they should not be taught at a school, but should be taught at home by either parents or, even better, a tutor that the parents hired. He felt that the boarding schools that a lot of children were attending weren't good because the teachers obviously couldn't watch the kids every second of every day, and so children would pick up on the misbehavior of other children. So he preferred that children be taught at home so they didn't have bad influences. John, as a realist, believed that truth is fixed, and individuals should try to discover the truth for themselves rather than depending on what other people have found. He also thought that children needed to be exposed to and learn to endure hardships so that decisions that they made would be based on reason rather than on temporary comfort. He also thought that children needed to be educated so that they could understand the consequences of their actions and so that they could seek pleasure in the future from their actions. They had to learn to endure, again, temporary displeasure. And one thing that he said, like as an example, children should be made to walk in shoes that allow water to come in so that they get used to the discomfort of walking with their feet in water. They needed to learn to endure hardships so that they can make decisions based on reason rather than comfort. When children are very young, parents need to be stern with them, and they should not be given a lot of material items unless a child needs it. If a parent determines a child needs a toy and there's a good, solid reason for that toy, then that's fine, but they shouldn't just be given gifts or elaborate material items just for fun. It should all have a purpose. Children should not be rewarded with material goods because then they'll make decisions based on getting a reward rather than on reason. Instead of giving children material rewards, parents and teachers really need to be vocal with their praise. They need to tell children when they've done a good job. They need to tell children when they're displeased. He felt that people in general seek approval more than anything else. And so they will work hard to seek your approval, and so therefore praise should be in public, but reprimand should be in private, so as not to embarrass the child. And he also was against corporal punishment unless there was a situation of insubordination. He thought that children should have very simple directions. When you want a child to do something, you tell them very simply what to do, and then you have it repeated over and over again until it's a habit. So I guess he's a little bit of a behaviorist as well. He felt that learning should be the result of play, and he also was a strong advocate of learning foreign languages. And he felt that the foreign language should be taught by a tutor who spoke the language natively, and that the child should be spoken to only in the foreign language by that tutor. Parents or the tutor should be teaching virtues as well as facts and figures, and things like generosity, kindness, and a love of learning should be taught. He also thought that parents have a right to make decisions about their children without interference from the state. Something I read said that a lot of people point to Locke as someone who supports homeschooling, but you have to understand that in his time it was either boarding school or schooling at home. So he wasn't necessarily arguing against school as we know it today, where children go to a public school and then come home in the evenings. He was saying children shouldn't be sent away to school. So a lot of people sort of take what he says out of context, according to this source that I read. And just to give you some notable quotes, of course there are more in the paper, but of all the men we meet, 9 parts of 10 are what they are, good, evil, useful, or not, by their education. It is that which makes a great difference in mankind. So again, children are sort of blank slate, and most of what they are is what they've learned. Contrary to the ordinary way, children should be used to submit their desires. So again, they should be used to putting off what they want for comfort in order to follow reason. So they should go without their longings, even from their very cradles. The very first thing they should learn to know should be that they were not to have anything because it pleased them, because it was thought fit for them. So you don't get a toy because it's shiny and pretty and you want it. You get it because your parents thought that it was something that you needed for a purpose. If they were never suffered to obtain their desire by the impatience they expressed for it, they would no more cry for other things than they do for the moon. For liberty and indulgence can do no good to children. Their want of judgment makes them stand in need of restraint and discipline. So children don't have good judgment. They think they want it, they need it, and that doesn't show good judgment. You need something because it makes sense and it follows reason that you need it, not because you just want it. So therefore children can't really be trusted. Their judgment can't be trusted. I thought I had another page. I guess that's it. Oh no, here it is. I'm sorry, I got out of order. To avoid the danger that is on either hand is the great art, and he that has found a way to keep up a child's spirit, easy and active and free, and yet at the same time to restrain him from many things he has a mind to, and to draw him to those things that are uneasy to him, he, I say, that knows how to reconcile these seeming contradictions has, in my opinion, got the true secret of education. So here Locke is just saying that kids do need to have that free and that easy spirit and be excited and be curious and learn based on those good traits, but at the same time not let those traits draw him to things that are not reasonable, which would be easy to do. So few years require but few laws. So again, children need simple rules. As his age increases, when one rule is by practice well established, you may add another. So make sure the rules are easy, they're understood, they're practiced, repeated over and over again, and then you can add in another rule. Everyone's natural genius should be carried as far as it could, but to attempt the putting another upon him will be but labor in vain. So every child has natural gifts, and they need to be fully explored and fully built up, but you can't say because this child is good in this subject, this child also has to be good in this subject. Curiosity in children is but an appetite after knowledge, and therefore ought to be encouraged in them. So again, curiosity is a great thing. Kids are naturally curious and naturally want to know, and if they're taught well and they're encouraged, then that thirst for knowledge will continue. And that's it. Thanks, guys.